Just give me a thumbs up when you're ready, and we'll get rolling. Thank you for being here this morning. I will go through a couple highlights and then, of course, take any questions that you have. Some good news we've been working on here in the last couple of weeks is around the airport expansion. I think if it wasn't my first press conference, one of my first was talking about how that's a big priority for us to get the ball rolling. So FDOT has identified $2 million for design of that terminal, and that it will be in the FY26 work plan for FDOT. So I'm very grateful for FDOT, for Senator Broxton, Representative Andrade, all of our team. This is really our team at the airport, Matt and Erica and Ken and others. A lot of people have come together throughout this process to make it happen. We weren't able to get it last year, and I'm excited that we're able to get it this year. When you hear FY26, which starts in the middle of 2025, our intent at this point would be to go ahead and get started with design, and RFQ for that is underway, and we expect to be advertising for bids this spring. We would be working to get a reimbursement. So the fact that we landed on this work plan allows us to move forward, and so we don't have to wait necessarily until fiscal 26 to start the design. That we'll go ahead and move forward with it. So that's a great step in the right direction for an airport that is, again, bursting at the seams in terms of its our passenger traffic coming through year after year, and this is much needed. So we're excited for that development. Some city project updates just wanted to give you. So we're making great progress on a few of our projects. The skate park we're looking at right now. Of course, those things can, we'll continue to monitor, but the trajectory right now for the skate park is somewhere in the middle of May of 2023. We expect to have a grand opening event. Our Day Dock Marina, a community maritime park across the street, that we're making great progress. Again, our folks, Rick and Public Works, have been doing an awesome job staying on top of that. We're looking at mid to late March potentially of 23, this year, of course. So that's coming up pretty soon. And for Hunter Pool, we're looking for anticipated completion date around Memorial Day. So trying to get that open right before Memorial Day, of course, for when the usage for our swimming pool is at an all-time high. So we're excited about all three of those things continuing to progress, and really all within the next 4 months or so coming online for us. An update on the graffiti bridge. We have been working diligently on ways to improve that. Maybe some people enjoy seeing all those updates on Facebook, but I know it's difficult on traffic. It's expensive. We don't wish that on anybody to have damage to their moving truck or their RV, anything like that. So the first step we're going to take is we're going to formalize that being a no trucks corridor. It already was on the northbound side, and of course, as you guys know, there is some signage, out there already, but it wasn't on the southbound side. So we're going to formalize that no truck corridor. You'll see some additional signage by the end of the week. That also allows there to be citations written in that respect, as well as what we hope is when you formalize that, you'll start to see whether it's GPS things like Google Maps or Waze, where once that's formalized, hopefully, in a pretty short order, you'll start to see that, where if you're using your Google Maps coming north on the bridge, that you'll make sure that it's identified pretty clearly as no truck. So it's really formalizing, and that's a phase 1 for us. And Amy Tootle and our Public Works team are working kind of on a phase 2, which is something more physical. But there is complexity to it. It's a state road on the south side of the bridge. It's a city road on the north side of the bridge. So I understand citizens out there saying, well, why don't you just put something up? I kind of posed the same question to our staff. But of course, it's not that simple. But I will say our team is working diligently on finding solutions that, maybe you hit something a little softer before you get all the way to the bridge. So we are working on something else outside of that, but this is a great step forward, I believe, to formalize this as a no truck corridor. Another update, ECUA, I had a meeting with Bruce Woody at ECUA. Our testing has been conducted, again, follow-up testing at Spring and Garden. You guys remember that we had an issue there, a break there, and there was some initial testing that had come back positive. This follow-up testing has been conducted, but it will. We should see some results really in any time in the coming days. I mean, should have seeing what we find there, and what we hope is to continue to see drastic improvement on the quality. And I want to mention too, DEP, our folks at the city, ECUA, University of West Florida have all been involved, collaboratively in that project to make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that we've got the water quality, and to try to alleviate the issues that were discovered there. Last couple things, President's Day closures, of course, the Monday, February 20th, City of Pensacola offices will be closed in observance of President's Day. That also means I will be meeting with you guys at 1 o'clock, as we do if there's a Monday holiday. My next press conference will be 1 o'clock on Tuesday the 21st. And all city sanitation customers will have a change of schedule, as we always do, and it'll bump back a day due to the holiday. Another reminder, pay by text starts March 1st, or kicks off March 1st, so again, be on the lookout for that when you're traveling downtown. And also a quick congratulations to Tanya Bird, who's our new Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. Has a ton of experience here, been here since 2014, and as you know, Parks and Rec is a vital part of so much of what we do in the city and the service we provide to our citizens. So excited to have her on board. So that is all my updates, and happy to take any questions you got.
The Pensacola Bay Bridge opened last night to traffic. I guess, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't been over it yet. I haven't, but look, I think this has been a long process for a lot. I think everyone's excited to see some progress there, and we've been a little part of that, of course, with some of the law enforcement presence, with some of the traffic, and I think we're all excited to get this thing going and get what's been a long process, behind us. And I certainly think about the when on the private side of things, the businesses that really the small businesses over in Gulf Breeze that suffered through. It's one thing for an inconvenience for us. It's another for people that either lost their business or really were struggled to survive when that bridge was out. So it's been a pain point for all of us, but I'm glad that we're finally here. We're finally to a point that we can get both of these bridges going, and we know that the long-term positive impact not only is to get a safe bridge in service, but also to help traffic flow smoothly to our great natural resources out that direction, and make life easier on people commuting back and forth. So certainly excited to see this finally come to a head and get that bridge open. Yeah, John.
Mayor, good morning. Can you give us your thinking on this issue between the Environmental Advisory Board's recommendation not to use the tree fund for maintenance and to restore the money that was recently appropriated away from that? And is there any daylight between the city and these advisory boards? This has been a long sort of point of tension that the advisory boards, many of them have said they don't feel like their work is being valued by the city. Could you give us a little insight into what led to that decision?
Sure. So I'll answer the first part. As far as, we continue to move ahead with what has gone to council and what was approved by council, which is that we're going to move ahead with exactly what was proposed. And now that I don't want to speak to, that's an advisory board for the council, of course. Those aren't appointments by the staff or the administration. Understand the technicality part of that is, that was a discussion item that then was decided to have a vote on during the meeting. And look, I appreciate anyone in this community that's willing to be giving of their time to help our community in whatever aspect, whether it's architectural review, whether it's environmental. We want opinions about those things, but an advisory board is an advisory board. It's to give an opinion on those things, but there is a delineation between an advisory board and a board that makes a change. And on this exact topic, if this was to go to a board around the issue of public safety and say, well, we have 7 people who advise on public safety, and if a tree falls on a house somewhere, do we think this is a good way to support it? So it's not that the EAB's opinion isn't valuable, but there's a lot. It is advisory. They've certainly shared their opinion. And I've shared my opinion, and the council shared its opinion that it's approved, and we'll continue to move forward.
Follow up on that. When the council approved that, you said that whatever contract comes forward to remove those trees is going to go to the EAB. Is that still before going to council?
I believe if there's a contract in excess of $25,000, as would be the normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's, I guess, is there any update on the contract?
No, I mean, remember, the spirit of us doing this to begin with was that we didn't want to go put something out for bid that we didn't understand, the funding and where it's coming from. So our goal was we didn't want to waste any contractors' time. We didn't want to and say that this isn't something that was going to be supported. So yeah, in what form those come, our goal is to do this the most efficient way possible for the taxpayer, right? So we don't know if that's going to be 8 at a time, 10 at a time. So it's not always a prudent approach to just say here's all 30 either. So we're going to assess, and remember, the list exists because there's ones that are much greater need at the top of the list than at the bottom. And so how soon is that need? We may look at it as in a piecemeal approach. So, but this allows us, and we've started that process now of getting something out. With the council approval, we're moving forward with that process of starting to be able to get it all bid out.
I guess this kind of predates your term as mayor, but last week the city council, I guess, audit of Reeves was made public. I guess, do you have any thoughts on that report?
Yeah, it does predate me. I don't. I don't really have any specific comment from our office. That's something the council, asked for. I just appreciate our, Amy LaVoy and everyone in our finance team for working on this, and I'm glad to see that ultimately the end result was, we want to be careful of the taxpayer dollar. We want federal funding, all of those things that we have an expectation at the city that that if you're going to come to an agreement with us on something, or you say you're going to do something, that you're going to do it. And so I would say my general feelings is there's a couple things that we feel like we need to clean up in there, and maybe some procedural things, but it's a positive step, I think, for all parties involved when something comes back at a fraction of what the audit itself even cost, in terms of what the discrepancy was. So I think that's a positive thing for everybody.
I guess, do you still have confidence in the city working with Reeves as a partner for spending on homeless and that type of thing?
Yeah, I do, and obviously this gets because of the audit gets a lot of attention, but like a lot of things, I just spent an hour yesterday with the police. That we had an award ceremony for Officer of the Year and some of those things, and my joke to someone after was like, man, if I could require 55,000 people to watch this and hear these stories of all these people, what they do to save lives and what they've done, I mean, to literally save lives, that it would have an impact on people. So we talk a lot about some particular things, but what I'll tell you and what I know that our providers and some of our other functions within the homeless reduction community will tell you is that Reeves has stepped up for us and has been able to take on some things that when we need help in a certain service or to help someone, they're there. So, I totally understand, and I think it's always a healthy thing to if someone has concern or council has concern about how dollars are being spent, that certainly is their right to look into that, and I respect that. But what I'll say is, with boots on the ground, REAP has been a positive impact on us helping reduce homelessness and helping provide services for people who need it. So I look forward to continuing that relationship in the future.
Mayor, I happened to notice over the weekend that Inspire Communities of Northwest Florida, it continues this massive apartment building projects out on 9 Mile Road. Where do they stand with Community Maritime Park? Any new news about that?
Yeah, so what I'll say, what we know now is, as before, that the same we have the same agreement in place, which is that they are in control of the property until I believe August is when that you're paying they're paying a monthly fee to the city to have control of that property, and I want to give them some credit too. Again, when they sent us the letter, a couple months ago, however long that's been, basically saying, hey, we can't make these numbers work based on the market. I appreciate that. Look, they could have not said a word until August, and so the transparency. I appreciate them coming forward, and the additional level of we kind of reached back out to them to say, well, if you can't do it, we might, if there's any other interest out there, is that it's something that we could at least start to entertain, and that was something they were amicable to. So again, I appreciate their professionalism and their willingness to say, even if it's not us, is there a way that we can help the city kind of proceed forward. That being said, there's a limitation on how much we can do. Again, they currently hold the rights to the property, and so what I can say now is I've been encouraged by some potential interest outside of the folks who hold the property now, and we continue to be in conversations with them, as well as the city continues to be in conversations of just gauging interest. And so the only thing really of substance I can tell you now is that we've been pleasantly surprised by the amount of interest coming around about a potential deal if the current holder does not want to move forward.
I want to follow up on that. Does that mean that the city is formally marketing that property, or you just word of mouth, or how's that working?
Yeah, we're not formally marketing property because we can't. It's not by the letter of the law. Of course, it's not up for. I mean, it's currently the rights are possessed by someone, so we couldn't formally do that. But again, out of respect, and why I'm so appreciative of that is we're saying, hey, we got your letter. We understand that you may not be able to make these numbers work. So, is it okay for us to at least gauge interest with just potential interest at all, or let others even look at size of the property, general costs? But that can only go right now. It's truly just a general temperature check because someone else, they have the rights to the property right now, and so there's only so much you can do. But yeah, I mean, if people are calling, we're listening, as we should, and we'll see how it moves forward.
Does this sort of word of mouth marketing put the city at any risk in the future when it comes to a formal offer after Inspire perhaps vacates their lease? Is this? I'm thinking in terms of somebody coming in and saying, well, this has been word of mouth, and the mayor said that they're entertaining offers, but we're in Birmingham and we didn't hear about this.
Yeah.
And we'd like to whack at it.
Well, remember there's a long evolution of this well before me, and we haven't been able to get anything across the finish line. But what I'll say is understand that what has been discussed with Inspire is public record. So, I mean, if any of us were developers, what would we do? If we thought that there might be an opportunity down long term, we'd go look at what's been proposed already and what's been out there and what they said couldn't make work, and so understand that that's a factor in this too, is, even though we're not engaging, we're in any kind of negotiation with anyone. It's, people are reaching out and saying, well, if they're not going to do it, this is something we might be interested in. And I think the smart, prudent thing for the city to do is listen to those. Because if it doesn't, and it sounds like from the last communication we had with Inspire that it won't, then we want to be ready to move forward with something else. So I think it's a logical approach to take, is to say, if people are asking us about it and we think that a deal with the current group isn't going to be something that comes to fruition, then let's be as ready as possible, potentially moving forward. But in terms of formalizing, negotiating, none of that has gotten to my desk. All I know about now is that people are calling, and are potentially interested in case something falls through. That's really been the limit of it. But I'll say, as I said at the beginning, from my seat, I'm encouraged by, it could be the other way. It could be no one's calling, and so I appreciate the fact, and that's a good thing for the city, that there are people interested in investing in Pensacola, and we want to continue to cultivate that. And if we go a different direction, we'll make that as seamless as possible. So, but that's where we stand currently.
I'll follow up on that. It's just kind of like a general question, I guess. But what do you think the chances are that property will be developed by the end of your first term?
Now we're handicapping different things. I don't want to put a date on that. I mean, if you would have asked the last mayor or the one before that, we would have probably all said and been hopeful and optimistic that we can get something done. But it's an interesting time right now. I mean, we know the reason we got the letter from the current group is, parking spaces went from 18,000 to 32,000 a space in structured parking. I mean, and then now with the price of money, and then banks get a little tighter. So these are all factors that are not only outside the city's purview, but certainly outside the developers in a lot of ways. So, that's really additional detail to why I'm encouraged, because these are not really the economic factors where I would not have been surprised if that we had a lot of reservations out there. So, and look, this interest could, people could crunch numbers and say, well, wait a second, the current group's right, we can't make that work either. We don't know, because we can't really delve into those conversations with them. But just the fact that people are calling and our people are showing some interest in at least getting a harder look at it, I think is a great thing for us. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to say, I can't promise anything. This project and Maritime Park in and of itself has been quite a journey. I can say that, but we will be proactive in wanting to get something done. And that doesn't mean we're going to rush into something that we don't think makes sense for us, or give away too much on behalf of the city just to say we have something in it. So I would, we're going to do something, and we're going to be urgent about getting something there, but we're going to be responsible to the taxpayer and make sure that that's a good deal for all of us, not only from dollars and cents, but for vibrancy and for what our needs are in the community.
Mayor, the CRA refinanced some bond money here last year or so. Mm-hmm. Does the lack of development of those lots at the park, does it put the CRA's debt service under any kind of pressure?
Well, what I can speak to since I've been here, and what I'd say is we are engaging in some intentionality and urgency about assessing what the priorities of the CRA, what should be proposed, to the board. So, again, things change, priorities change. I'll just give an example. We've talked about some streetscape improvements as an example. Well, we've funded a transportation study, that would look at multimodal opportunity. I would probably see what that study says before I picked a street to improve, right? And so when I say priorities change, I think we're kind of reassessing right now, at least from I can't speak for the CRA board, but from an administration standpoint, we're assessing, and certainly we'll hope to propose, the best pathway forward for. But in terms of something tied directly to the lack of activity at Maritime so far and that effect on bond, there's nothing I'm aware of. Yeah, Jeremy.
Back to the testing, the ECUA testing.
Yes.
Do you know if they just tested in the same spots they did previously, or if they expanded it? And say it comes back clean, what does that mean? Is that by some
Yeah, so first, I know that there's some testing that's going to happen both at I would really say kind of eastern outfall, which is the one in question, or the spring and garden, and then I know there'll be some testing on the western side. As to where we go from here, I can't speak to that. Obviously, we're going to see the results sometime pretty soon, we expect, and I'm not the technical expert on that, on what the best next step forward would be, but certainly what I know would happen is there'll be a conversation, again, a collaborative one between DEP, city, ECUA, and we're going to say, here's what it says, and here's some of the action steps that we can take moving forward. So I'm not trying to be evasive to that. I just don't. Number one, it depends on what the result is. Number two is if it does come back as you presume and we say it's good, I would just presume that we won't ever test it again. Maybe the sequencing of testing, slows down a little bit, or maybe we test right. I would leave it up to, our folks here at the city and collaboration with ECUA about what they think is the most prudent step forward. Anything else? All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great morning.